5 seconds to go. Start. On the other hand, the respondents have tried to distinguish the present case by stating that the present case is not one of disclosure which is being sought during investigation by SEBI under the Securities and Exchange Board of India prohibition of fraudulent and unfair trade practices relating to securities market regulations, 2003. Stop. Although we agree with the respondents that the Takano case supra was rendered under the aforesaid regulations, however, we are of the opinion that the reasoning of this court alludes to a general obligation of disclosure on the part of SEBI. Stop. This court has held in the Takano case supra that three fundamental purposes of disclosure of information are reliability, that is, the court will be able to perform its function accurately only if both parties have access to information and possess opportunity to address arguments and counter arguments, fair trial, that is, this will enable the parties to effectively participate in the proceedings, and transparency and accountability, that is, the investigative agencies are held accountable through transparency and not opaqueness. Stop. Keeping a party abreast of the information that influence the decision promotes transparency of the judicial process, which was discussed in the aforesaid case in the following manner: para. While the respondents have submitted that only materials that have been relied on by the board need to be disclosed, the appellant has contended that all relevant materials need to be disclosed. Stop. While trying to answer this issue, we are faced with a multitude of other equally important issues. Stop. These issues, all paramount in shaping the jurisprudence surrounding the principles of access to justice and transparency, range from identifying the purpose and extent of disclosure required, to balancing the conflicting claims of access to justice and grounds of public interest such as privacy, confidentiality and market interest. Stop. An identification of the purpose of disclosure would lead us closer to identifying the extent of required disclosure. Stop. There are three key purposes that disclosure of information serves. Stop. Para. The possession of information by both the parties can aid the courts in determining the truth of the contentions. Stop. The role of the court is not restricted to interpreting the provisions of law but also determining the veracity and truth of the allegations made before it. Stop. The court would be able to perform this function accurately only if both parties have access to information and possess the opportunity to address arguments and counter arguments related to the information. Stop. Para. Since a verdict of the court has far-reaching repercussions on the life and liberty of an individual, it is only fair that there is a legitimate expectation that the parties are provided all the aid in order for them to effectively participate in the proceedings. Stop. Para. The investigative agencies and the judicial institution are held accountable through transparency and not opaqueness of proceedings. Stop. Opaqueness furthers a culture of prejudice, bias, and impunity principles that are antithetical to transparency. Stop. It is of utmost importance that in a country grounded in the rule of law, the institutions adopt those procedures that further the democratic principles of transparency and accountability. Stop.